In this video, we're going to answer two related questions that I get about the internship process in Australia. We're going to answer the question about, is there a shortage of internships? And what happens if you do miss out on an internship in Australia? Hi there guys, Dr. Anthony Llewellyn. I'm a medical HR geek here from Australia. Now, I wanted to answer a couple of questions that I commonly get I'm getting a lot of questions from medical students these days, particularly international medical students studying in Australia who are worried about their chances for getting an internship in Australia. So I want to have a look at that. So this video is about medical students in Australia and the internship process in Australia. I have done videos about internship and whether IMGs are eligible for internship in Australia. Spoiler alert, no. But if you want to check out some information about the internship system in Australia and IMG eligibility, I'll put a link to this video here and what you should be looking for, which is not an internship position, but generally a resident position. But this is about medical students in Australia, and the thing about Australia and the internship system is that certain medical students are guaranteed an internship and others are not. So the domestic students are the Australian citizens and permanent residents who are studying medical school in Australia are guaranteed an internship, generally in their own state or territory, although they can apply to other states and territories. And then we do have international students come to Australia to study, and they're not necessarily guaranteed an internship. But the way the system works, which includes a national audit process to keep things going smoothly and to free up vacant positions across states and territories, plus the Commonwealth with its own system of top-up internships, basically, if you hang in long enough, you will get an internship. So let's just have a look at that, and I'll show you the evidence for that. So I used to run the internship system in New South Wales through a group called the Health Education and Training Institute in a previous job. And this is actually their report for the last 2020 clinical year. I'm not sure when this came out, probably a few months ago. And I just wanted to show you a few things. You can have a read. I'll put the link in the description below. There's a bit of an executive summary here for you. And so the way each state and territory works it is they have these priority categories. Category 1 is the domestic medical students in New South Wales, are the Australian citizens and permanent residents. Category 2 are medical graduates of interstate or New Zealand universities, but who did high school in New South Wales. Then Category 3 are medical graduates of interstate or New Zealand universities who did their high school outside of New South Wales. And then Category 4 are the medical graduates of New South Wales universities who are not Australian or New Zealand citizens or permanent residents. So the majority of applications for the New South Wales internships come from Category 1, which are those medical students in New South Wales who are citizens or permanent residents, and Category 4, which are basically the international students studying in New South Wales. And you can see up in the executive summary here that for 2020, the positions accepted, Category 1, these are the New South Wales Medical School Australian citizens and permanent residents, majority, 792. Quite a bunch from outside who've studied elsewhere, which is actually, that's a lot higher than normal, coming back to New South Wales. A few interstaters, 24, and then 99 New South Wales international medical students. And the Category 5 is international medical students from elsewhere, other states and territories. And then Category 6 is, there's a couple of universities now do medical school in other countries. And so these are people doing medical school in other countries. Monash is the main one, and I think that one would be a Monash student. So the critical thing here is that they say, on commencement of the late vacancy management process, which basically, once the National Intern Audit has kind of done enough rounds, goes back to the states to just ad hoc fill things, and which commenced in November 2019. The internship year starts late January every year. New South Wales had 8 positions unfilled. By the close of and they'll keep having vacancies during that time, but by the close of the late vacancy management system on the 27th of March, so they actually run this into the actual clinical year now, there were 14 medical graduates from Monash Malaysia Category 6 who remain unplaced. So that means all the Category 4 and Category 5 students had withdrawn from the New South Wales allocation process. Now, does that mean that they necessarily got a job as an intern in New South Wales? No. Does it necessarily mean that they got a job as an intern anywhere in Australia? No. But it means they've withdrawn probably because they got an offer somewhere else, usually in their home country, or maybe through the Commonwealth Initiative. So we see this every year, and I receive questions every year and concerns every year. I haven't heard the term intern crisis for a couple of years, but really every year, basically what happens is if you stay in long enough in the process, you will generally get a job in Australia or perhaps in your home country. Now, if you are forced to go overseas to do your internship, but you really do want to come back to Australia, maybe you want to do some training in Australia, postgraduate training in Australia, the process is actually fairly simple. I recently got a question about, do I do the standard pathway? Do I do the competent authority? Do I wait till I'm a specialist? No, you don't have to do any of that. A little known section about this on the medical board website is here under provisional registration. So this is where you go if you're, Australian final year medical student and wanting to get your intern registration. Provisional registration is available for interns as well as doctors from competent authority countries, as well as international medical graduates on the standard pathway with the AMC certificate. But you'll notice here there's a link that says Australian and New Zealand medical graduates who have completed a medical internship in another country. So let's click on that link and have a read here. So it says Australian or New Zealand medical graduates who have completed a medical internship in another country are required to complete a period of supervised practice in Australia to become eligible for general registration. You have to meet the mandatory requirements, including English language skills, recency of practice, professional indemnity insurance, and a bunch of other things. Now, to do that, you will need a job offer from an employer, and they have to provide written confirmation of your offer, your contact details, a position description, which includes how you're going to be supervised and the duties you're going to do, and a supervised practice plan. So what does this mean? So it means that, let's say you graduate in Australia, but you go to the US or Canada for a couple of years and you want to come back. It basically means you have to find an employer who has a spare maybe resident medical officer or maybe senior resident medical officer job that they're able to give to someone who's not a citizen or permanent resident, I'm presuming that you aren't, and then they have to submit a plan to the medical board for you to be registered for 12 months. So this is basically the same as the competent authority pathway, really, but the thing here is you're an Australian graduate of an Australian medical school. And I think if you make that clear enough to the employer and show that you've got your internship and perhaps whatever other experience you've accumulated overseas, they're going to see you as someone that's going to be at least worthy of interviewing for the job, and it's a streamlined pathway to getting registered and getting your general registration. So that's what you need to do if you do have to do your internship in another country, if you do want to come back to Australia.